Serious double bassists know that as a portion, a little chunk of Mozart Symphony No. 40, the first movement. Very famous double bass excerpt on professional auditions, and those of us who've taken many auditions have played this thousands of hours. The key to being able to execute that passage well is to have a good spiccato in your arsenal of techniques. So spiccato and how I teach spiccato is what I want to talk about today in this video. Quite often, students approach spiccato just because they've heard that you should bounce the bow, and they just start doing it like in school orchestra, and there are all kinds of techniques associated with it. Often a student working on their own, has heard some things like you should bounce the bow like a basketball, like you're dribbling a basketball, which is, a very good place to start. Because we all dribble basketballs really, really easily. Or most of us, I think, have at least dribbled the ball passably well. Part of growing up in the United States, probably. And you do this fairly easily, and it works pretty well. But quite often, the bow just starts bouncing for people, and they don't get much sound, right? It's hard to kind of think of this as a down bow or an up bow. And, if you have some experience, invariably you can work some nice lateral motion in there that would give you a nice way of getting articulation out of the bass, but often that's very mystifying. So, after hearing this from a number of students kind of early in my career, well, not so early, but maybe 10 years into my career, I developed a way of teaching spiccato, which goes like this. You hold the bow straight out in front of you, arm parallel to the floor, kind of a loose bend, and you just drop the bow so that it hits the string at about its balance point. You should feel like the hand is going to go straight to your thigh, basically. All right? Makes a huge thwack. But what I'm trying to get a student comfortable with when I ask them to do this is just the fact that dead arm weight can do an awful lot to create a really great stroke, right? And I ask for plenty of sound, plenty of thwack, all right? Once I've gotten a student to feel like they can drop the bow and feel this arm, this hand that wants to just drop to their thigh, then I ask them to try it the other way. Basically, they end up here, pointed out 45 degrees to their right with a bow. Then I ask them to kind of fling the bow in from the right and then let the bow bounce up. That's the up bow stroke. So once I get kind of consistency between those two sounds, then I'll ask them to dial back the kind of the outward to the right motion and the flinging, and actually try and catch that motion in their right hand and bounce up faster in the right hand than they do out to the sides. That looks like this. Once we get that, then we're on a path to kind of get a really good, what I think, fundamental spiccato stroke. If you're thinking of a nice, slow spiccato stroke, the anatomy of a spiccato stroke for me is that if you had light-emitting diodes on the button, or rather the screw of the frog, and a light-emitting diode on the tip of the bow, and you were catching those in a dark room, I'd hope you'd see equal V's on either side in terms of the shape of how they're going. And with the ideal spiccato stroke for me is a stroke where both frog and tip are bouncing synchronously, same time, like that. All right? This varies from what some people might call spiccato stroke, but is actually what I think of as sautille, or what others might call flying spiccato. There's a great video by the great cellist David Finkel that talks about this. And he's using, I think, like a chopstick and a pencil or something to demonstrate how the sautier stroke is rendered. But this video is about spiccato, which is for slower tempi. Basically, I would say up to 130 even, you can do this basic spiccato stroke. So from 80 to 130, 60 to 130, whatever you choose. It has a wide range of uses, and we use it all the time as bassists because it's both percussive and round, has a great thump, provides rhythm, tone, everything. So back to this, how I teach this. So once a student has kind of found this, then I ask them to move slightly laterally. They're making a V, a very tall V. I would bet I'm coming 24 inches, 2 feet off the string. As they do this, we get closer and closer and tighter into the string. And that for me is a basic spiccato stroke. It should feel, you should feel loose in your arm, like there's still plenty of weight going in, and kind of, bouncy. I think of Muhammad Ali floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee, very light on his feet. And that bouncy stroke gives us the percussion we need. There's virtually no tightness in my forearm, in my back. There's certainly no stiffness in the arm. It's just flinging the bow into the string, getting that parallel motion of tip and frog in V shapes. As always, please contact me at UNCSA if you are curious and have some feedback. Thank you.